What's up? Welcome to Zella Sports. Today we will be talking about some of the NFL schedules that came out last week. We'll be talking about the NHL and the NBA conference championship games. I'll give my predictions. They're actually going on right now. Y'all see this tomorrow, so y'all already know what game one looks like. I don't know yet. We'll be talking about the league owner meetings that are happening, and then of course, I believe I already said it, the extensions, like I said. So let's start with the NFL schedules. I went through all the schedules. I was looking through, trying to decide what's the easiest, what's the hardest. I'm sure a lot of you have seen already. The San Francisco 49ers schedule is probably the easiest schedule you're going to find, and maybe ever. And I'm not exaggerating this at all. Let's pull it up. When you take a look at the schedule, I challenge you to find the Super Bowl contender that they have to play. And I'll go ahead and spoil it. It doesn't exist. You go through, what, maybe Chicago? That's insane to even just think. We can look at Houston with zero offensive line. Again, I can't find someone that's a Super Bowl contender. I'm not sure I can even find somebody that's a legit. Okay, I take that back. So you can find legit contenders to win their division in Houston, Jacksonville. Obviously, when you play a whole division, that was kind of a dumb comment. But regardless, I can't find a team that I would say, yeah, they're going to be really good this year. San Francisco easily has the easiest schedule of the season, and to me, there's no excuse. You just paid Brock Purdy, right? And I guess we'll go to get into that. You just paid him the 5-year, $265 million contract. That's $53 million a year on average. And look, a lot of people don't like it. I actually don't have a problem with this contract. You look at it, he is 7th ranked in quarterback. He's behind Tua. He's tied with Jared Goff. Truthfully, I think he's better than Tua. And I think he's a little worse than Goff, but they're tied. And you know how it works. Usually somebody gets paid, and within 2 years, they're dropped 5 spots. That's just the quarterback market. That's just honestly the sports market in general. So looking at that, he's 7th. I probably rank him in the 11 to 15 range. So again, in a couple years of this 5-year deal, that's exactly where he'll be. I have no problem with the contract. The no trade clause, I gotta admit, is a little crazy. I don't know if he did enough to earn that, but he also went to a Super Bowl. You can play devil's advocate there. I personally wouldn't have loved it, but I probably do give it to him if that's the deciding factor. Say he wants over 55, more towards that Dak Prescott money, but the no trade clause will hold him down to 50, 53? Hey, maybe at that point, it's absolutely warranted. Regardless, you just paid this quarterback $53 million a year, right? So you, looking at this schedule, looking at just the cakewalk that it is, there's no excuse, and I feel like I'm going to be generous here. There's no excuse to lose more than 6 games. That's 11-6. That should be winning your division, unless you're Minnesota last year. That should be winning your division. That's the floor to me, looking at this schedule. And I understand they had players leave. They traded Debo and all that. I get it. But you just, again, when you pay the quarterback, I think paying the quarterback was deserved. But when you do that, the quarterback now has to come through for you. With a schedule this easy, this quarterback now has to come through and be like, this is why I'm worth this money. I'm going to lead this team against this bad schedule. And at minimum, a playoff berth. At minimum. That's what this contract extension did for me. Plus this schedule. You have to at least give me a playoff berth. Because if you can't do that, Brock Purdy, then yeah, you are overpaid. And obviously there's exceptions. But honestly, an injury to Brock Purdy is the only exception I really want to hear about. McCaffrey getting injured, that sucks. The schedule's still too easy. As long as Ayuk is healthy, we'll say 3/4 of the season, Brock Purdy's healthy, and that O-line is relatively healthy, that defense should be good. I know they lost some pieces, but you still have your Nick Bosa, your Fred Warner, that should be at least decent. I'm telling you, I don't care who left. With this easy of a schedule, you're paying Brock Purdy. He has to go be the guy that you're paying him to be. And that's really all there is to it for me. So yeah, I'm expecting San Fran with the schedule, with paying Brock. He's your guy. Go win at least 10 games. I just gave you another loss right there. At least 10 games is what I need from you. Otherwise, yeah, they made the wrong choice if he can't do that. Like, if he can't win 10 games, you shouldn't have paid him that money. Um, Another schedule I looked at and I thought, oh, that looks fairly easy. There wasn't that many. I mean, San Fran, again, might be the easiest schedule of all time. So there's not very many schedules that you look at and they're like, that's as easy as San Francisco's. But the Panthers kind of stuck out to me as well as an easier schedule. And as a Bryce Young, almost lost the name for a second. As a Bryce Young guy, I would call myself. I believe in Bryce Young. I think that flash he showed you at the second half of last season is closer to where he'll actually play going forward, at least into this season. I love the schedule. I think they have a chance to make a run to win the division. Now, hold up. I don't think they're necessarily going to win the division. Obviously, we have plenty of time to look at that stuff before the season starts. But I do think that they have a case with this schedule to at least make a run, make a push for it. Going on to some of the harder schedules that you'll see this season. First up is, actually, this is really where I'll spend most of my attention here, is the entire NFC North. It's a gauntlet. Look, you got to play each other twice a year. Obviously, that's known. That's how schedules work. And that is one of the divisions that I think you can make a case for all four teams to make the playoffs. That division is so unbelievably stacked, but I'm not telling you anything new here. However, the divisions they have to go against outside of their own are also like just stacked divisions. You start in the NFC with the NFC East. So you have to play the Commanders, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. You have to play the Dallas Cowboys, which I think a lot of people are sleeping on this year, and then the Giants or whatever. On top of that, going over to the AFC division that they have to play this year is the AFC North. So we're talking about Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. And outside of Cleveland, I mean, Pittsburgh's always going to be one of those teams that are in every game. Then you have Baltimore and Cincinnati. Like, the schedule, like, it's brutal. I'm going to start with Minnesota's schedule. Minnesota starts with practically a rookie quarterback, might I add, at Chicago. So you're at a division rival, a very important game, I think, in this division. Week 1, Monday Night Football. Man, that's a huge game. You get Atlanta week 2. You go on to Cincinnati the next week. That's a tough game against Joe Burrow, like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those guys. You should score a lot of points against that defense, but that's a huge game. Now you have an overseas game in Dublin, Ireland against Pittsburgh. You stay overseas to play Cleveland in England the next week. Then you have a early week 6 bye, and man, I can't stand early buys. This is why I think they should go to a 2-bye week system, because I cannot stand for teams, not only Minnesota, I am admittedly a Viking fan, I cannot stand for just any team to have to take a bye week in week 6 with all the rest of the season. It's brutal for anybody. On top of that, though, after that bye week, you have Philly, the Chargers, the Lions, Baltimore, another division game in Chicago, another division game in Green Bay, Sam Darnold revenge game in Seattle, Washington, Dallas. Like, it doesn't let up until here, New York. And then after you beat New York, oh, look, you got Detroit and Green Bay right back to back to end the season. I saw that and I thought that is the hardest schedule in football maybe ever. And then I looked at Detroit's schedule, and it's just as bad. You start in Green Bay, at Green Bay, division rival, Chicago, Baltimore. Brutal 3 games. You get to play Cleveland, but it's a home game. You're wasting one of your home games on one of your easier opponents. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. Like that, it's just another brutal stretch. Bye week, Minnesota, Washington, Philly. Another brutal stretch. You get the Giants. Then Green Bay, Dallas. The Rams are going to be competitive. Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Chicago. You can argue between Minnesota and Detroit, who has the harder, easier schedule. The overseas games make it interesting to me. Will that hurt Minnesota, or will it help them being over there that long? I kind of lean towards the opinion that's going to hurt more than it's going to help, but that's something that maybe I'm looking too much into, and maybe it's not going to be as hard. So I lean actually towards Minnesota. Now I'm sitting here speaking out loud. I lean towards Minnesota being the harder schedule. And no, I can't say that because the teams that Detroit has to play, the Packers, I'm sorry, they both have to play the Packers. I meant Kansas City, Tampa. It's just harder. I think Detroit's got it harder. Other extensions that's happened over the past week or two, Joe Thuney in Chicago gets a new extension, 2 years, $17.5 million per year. Well deserved. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. I cannot believe Kansas City gave him up. I understand they have younger guys. They didn't want to lose the younger guys. But Kansas City has this issue with offensive line, right? And every single time they lose, it's due to their offensive line. Yet they're content with this being a revolving door of offensive linemen, and that will not make sense to me. When you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, I feel like that the protection matters 10 times more than the weapons. Mahomes will make do with the weapons. We saw him win a Super Bowl with way below average receiving talent. I think his receiving talent's better, especially when you factor back the return of Rashee Rice this year. So I can't comprehend truthfully the lack of care, the lack of effort on the offensive line, but maybe they know something we don't. Regardless, Chicago paying Thuney 2 years, 17.5. I think that's good. Thuney's getting older, obviously, but 2 years, 17.5. I mean, I love the contract, truthfully. If you can get Caleb to stop holding onto the ball so long, with Thuney, maybe you can hold onto the ball, assuming they built the rest of the offensive line out, which I think they did. I think they did a pretty good job this offseason, unfortunately. The other person that got a contract extension was Nick Sirianni. And I know, I'm sure you've heard it before. Nick Sirianni is the only coach in NFL history, maybe, that's been to a Super Bowl and then won a Super Bowl within a 3-year period, and people still don't know if he's good. And I'm fully on board of that camp. I don't think he's that great of a head coach. I think the GM, Howie Roseman, is very good, and I think that roster that he gets to coach is very good. He doesn't call his own plays, offensively or defensively. You're gonna hate me for saying this, but it's just truth to me. This is what I believe. I don't think he is the greatest adult in the room, which is crazy. I get it. He's a head coach. He's Super Bowl winning head coach, might I add. But I watch him and I think, like, man, this guy's childish. Jalen Hurts has to calm him down. I don't buy that the players buy in when Jalen's on the sideline having to calm him down. I just don't buy that he's that good of a coach. And again, he won the Super Bowl, right? And when I say that good, let me clarify here. I don't want for people to think I think he's a bad coach, because I don't think he's a bad coach. But we're talking, I assume, at least this conversation on, is he an upper echelon level coach? And to that, I would say no. Is he top 5? No. I think the argument starts at top 10. And personally, I think there are 10 other coaches I'd rather have. Maybe there's a time where I sit down and make that list out. But right now, gut reaction, I think there are probably 10 other coaches I'd rather have than him, but he's right there. Again, that's me. That's personal. That's what I see. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. The vibe check, if you will. I just don't see him as an upper echelon coach. There's nothing you can point at, I think, and go like, this is where he excels. And so that's my opinion of the coach. Obviously, I think if you're Philly, you kind of have to give him the extension, right? Coaches get fired on a dime all the time. It's really not a big deal. It hurts the owner. He has to pay. But other than that, like, they sign these contracts, but they're not locked in. They can get out of them at any time. You probably had to give him the extension, but personally, I just don't love the coach. And hot take maybe, I think he gets fired before this extension's up. Moving on first to the NHL, we have the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. This should be a good matchup. It's a rematch, I should say, of last season, although these teams look very different. Edmonton lost a whole slew of players, while Dallas adds, you can make an argument for, one of the greatest players on the planet today. Not only was he already one of the greatest players on the planet, but now he has a huge, huge, huge chip on his shoulder. It didn't go away just because they beat Colorado. He still got it. He's playing hard. When I watch him, I think he is the greatest player to put on a Stars jersey since Mike Modano, at least this stretch. I'm not saying long term. I'm not trying to say he's a greater Dallas Star than Jamie or even Sagan or anybody like that. I'm just saying peak talents on the ice. I'm watching them. I think him right now is better than any player Dallas has had since Mike Modano. But that rivals the best player in the league right now in Connor McDavid and of course Leon Draisaitl. This series I don't think could get any tighter. I think both teams are fast. Both teams have top tier talent. Both teams have physicality that you've really seen come alive specifically in the postseason. But the edge at the end of the day goes to the goaltenders, and that's obviously in the favor of the Dallas Stars. Ottinger has been, I think, the best goaltender in the league since the playoffs have started. He has been phenomenal. I mean, he outdueled Hellebuck, who is undeniably great in his own right. It's so tough. I'm not saying this is some landslide. I don't think Dallas wins by, sweeping them or anything. I don't think it goes 7 either, though. I do think Dallas does what Edmonton did to Dallas last year. I think very similarly, how one team got on a roll, that team being Edmonton last year. They won, I believe, 3 straight to end it. Maybe it's only 2 straight. I just think Dallas gets hot. Their role players eventually have to play like how they are. They haven't played up to their potential, and they still have been as good as they've been. Dallas's role players get it going. The top stays the top. Dallas ends up beating Edmonton in 6. And then over in the East, we have the Florida Panthers versus the Carolina Hurricanes. And I have been shocked by the Hurricanes, and maybe that's my fault, right? They were a good team last year, obviously. I didn't think they would be this good, truthfully. I thought they would beat New Jersey in round 1, but after that, I thought they were going to get beat by Washington in the last series, and they smoked them, right? 4-1. Gentleman sweep. The goalies looked great. I think Stankoven actually, in that trade with Dallas for Rantanen, has come over to the Hurricanes and has played, I think, better than even they expected. I think if you had asked Carolina what his output would be, especially once the playoffs hit, they wouldn't have told you this. I think they're happily surprised with how well Stankoven's played in this playoff series, especially at such a young age. He's like 22, I believe. So, I mean, this team has come by surprise to me. And of course, Florida did not at all. Reigning champions. One thing, though, that has struck me as odd is the victory laps they've taken over this win against Toronto. It's strange, to say the least. I can't get over that. I came in here fully expecting to pick the Panthers, and I still might. I haven't made up my mind, to be totally honest. It'll come out at the end of this segment, and I'll have to pick one then. But it's strange. The victory laps, the still taking shots at them even now, and I get it. Like, there was a heated playoff series. There's no doubt about it, but it almost comes off as if that was their cup, and I know it's not. Like I said, they're reigning champions. Like, I can't sit here and take a lot out of them, but it's just strange. I don't like it. If I'm the coach, if I'm the GM, I don't like it. I don't like the players chirping about Toronto after you've already beaten them. It should be on to the next. However, do I think they beat Carolina? Ultimately, I do. I couldn't decide. Like I said, I kind of just had to make up my mind on the moment, on the spot. I mean, but I think their physicality just gets the best of Carolina. And I mean, again, they won the cup last year for a reason. They lost some players, kept majority. I have to go with Carolina. I'm sorry, with Florida on this, and I'm also going to go with 6 in this one. I think once they get Carolina on the ropes, they're not going to let this up. Similarly, they almost let up the Stanley Cup Finals last year. I think it takes them a couple games because they are still caught up on Toronto. I think Carolina might take the first 1 or 2. Florida gets back. They win a few games, and then they just put their foot on their throats and take it all. And then switching over to the NBA Conference Championships. First, again, we'll start off in the West with the Timberwolves and the OKC Thunder. And let me just be honest here. I'm kind of rooting for the Timberwolves. And it's strictly off gameplay. I think Ant's more fun to watch than SGA. And the Timberwolves as a whole team. I came into this year as a Julius Randle hater. He has complete 180 this season. I have been overly surprised and proud of the dude, honestly. I think the things that were coming out of New York when he was playing for the Knicks about how he didn't care. I mean, it showed up on the court, too. Don't get me wrong. These weren't baseless claims, but I feel like he's really turned it around over in Minnesota. And, I don't know who gets the credit for that, if that's Julius, if that's a coach in his ear. Maybe it's Ant. Who knows? But I just wanted to take a moment to talk about Julius Randle and how he's really turned the corner, in my opinion. And they're just a better team to watch. Now, are they a better team? No, I don't think so. I think OKC is the more complete team. You have a bunch of players who know their role. And I think that's huge. It's similar, not near like drastically to this extent, but it's similar to the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. You had one superstar and a bunch of players know their role, except, I'm not going to take that out of J-Dub or anything else. Like, they are better. The supporting cast is infinitely better almost than the Dallas Mavericks 2011. It's just in the sense that they all know their role, right? They are going to do what their role is. And it's worked well for them. Now, with that said, I don't think Denver should have took them 7, right? I think they're open. Maybe that's lackadaisical. I don't know. But there is openings for them to lose games that they shouldn't. They have shown that in these playoffs already. I don't think Denver should have took them 7. But they did. So, with that said, I think the Timberwolves do the same thing. The same way Jokic was like, no, I'm not going to let you beat me. I think Ant does the same thing. Difference is, if they go 7, I think the Timberwolves are winning. I don't think, even though it's at home, even though they have the better team, Ant to me strikes me as the dude that, we've seen it, has that killer mentality, and he is not going to lose a game 7. And I truly think this will go 7. And I think the Timberwolves will win, even though I think OKC is the better team. They lose a game they shouldn't. Timberwolves just have to be better than them twice. Then they win a game they shouldn't. You're now in 7-game territory. And Ant, I think, just rips the heart out of OKC. I think the Timberwolves will go to the NBA Finals in 7. And then over on the Eastern side, the WWE perfectly wrote this script, I would say, with Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton on SmackDown with LA Knight and Logan Paul. However long that was, it was like November or December of last year. Long-term storytelling is still alive. And the Knicks played the Pacers. This one, I love this matchup. I think the series should be so fun. The matchups between these superstars, even Kat and Miles Turner, they kind of play similarly. The role players of both teams, I just love the matchup. With that said, I find the Knicks role players to be better. And it's not particularly by a small margin either. And that's not to say I think the Knicks are going to blow them out. I just think they're better. And it's not, in my head, it's not that close on who is better. It's probably close, but in my head, it's not close to who's better, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to come right out and say I think the Knicks are going to win this series. The question is, does this go 6 or does this go 7 to me? And I think this ends up going 6 is where I'm going to land my prediction. Although I do realize in NHL and NBA now, I didn't predict a home team to win a single one of these. So maybe I go 7 just so the Knicks get it at home. It's kind of a stupid reason to change it, but it's one game and anything can happen. But I do think the Knicks take it. I think they're the better team. I think these playoffs have been called very loosely, which helps the Knicks. I think they're just the more physical team, and the NBA is kind of headed in. Maybe it's just this playoffs, maybe not, but it feels like the NBA is headed into a more Knick-centric style, maybe I should say. Not centric, but a more Knicks-style brand of basketball, which not only helps the Knicks now, but helps them long term. And if they can keep this team together, I think they have chances to go on other runs like this, even though no one is going to pick them going into the year. They just, have that ability, that brand of basketball, if the NBA keeps leaning in this direction. Regardless, yeah, I think the Knicks take this, and I, I guess I'll go 7, like I said. So in my NBA, I have the Knicks in 7, the Timberwolves in 7, and the NHL, I have the Panthers in 6 and the Stars in 6. That wasn't planned. That's funny. I just did on the spot here. But so that's where I'm at the moment. Before a single game is played, they're actually about to start right now, like I said. So I need to get off so I can go watch that. However, that's just where I see. I'll be doing these we'll call them podcasts weekly. These shows, whatever you want to call them. I'm doing them weekly. So it'll be interesting to see next week where these series land, and none of them should be over unless there's like a sweep or something, in which case I'm wrong by all accounts. But it's interesting, fun to see, and yeah, so see you next time.